Hey guys, what a day today at the World Cup in Baku. Wei-Svidler beat Wei Yi to qualify in the semifinals. Same happened for Karyakin, who beat Mamedyarov. So we're gonna see in the finals Svidler playing against Giri and Elyanov against Karyakin. Very interesting final. All of the players, they have the Russian school. Giri, although representing the Netherlands, his mother is Russian, so definitely has some Russian and roots there. And Elyanov, of course, Ukraine. So what else can be closer to Russian school? So then two Russian players. So it's gonna be definitely an intense match. Thankfully, tomorrow is a free day, so we are gonna be seeing some cool game that I'll be analyzing, going back to our classics, and it's a little bit related to today's game. So if you want to find out what the surprise is, make sure you check out my video tomorrow. But meanwhile, let us see how Svidler beat Wei Yi in their rapid game to qualify in the semifinals. B3. Are you surprised by this move? I was a little bit, but although an unconventional opening, it is known as the Larsen or Nimzovich opening, let's say, because they were the ones who started playing this B3. And actually, it has been employed by Fischer occasionally as well. We know that Fischer was an adept of first move E4, but he has tried some B3 as well, and we're gonna check out maybe some of his games eventually. Although, in this opening, White basically gives away the center and just develops their pieces, on the third, up to the third rank. The idea is they leave Black the center and then they try to undermine Black's center. So they are going to attack it using their fianchetto bishop. This one, sometimes they play with G3, bishop G2, and generally they don't. So against E5 specifically, they don't play that. They normally take their bishop in B5 out, which is exactly what happened in this game. And in the same time, if you look at this opening, you reverse it in your head, you realize that it's very similar to the hedgehog. And that's gonna be when Black plays D5 and White is gonna play C4 and trade the pawns, and it's gonna be exactly like the hedgehog reversed. Anyways, in the same time, by the way, if somebody's interested in playing B3 with White, just as some surprise for their opponent, you might want to check Grandmaster Badur Jobava and Hikaru Nakamura's games. They both have been playing this B3 and had quite good results, so make sure you learn from them. Now here, let's see what's going on in this position as Black. This bishop in D6 is, I normally tell my students, do not put the bishop in front of your pawn in D7 because, you want to take this bishop out. What are you doing with the bishop here? It's very badly placed. In this particular opening, it's alright because Black sometimes has the possibility to play some E4 and then bishop E5 at some point and try to trade this powerful bishop in B2. So keep in mind, this is one of those openings where we are breaking the rules. Okay, in this position, Svidler castled. I think A6 was more natural here to kind of force White to give away the bishop pair and capture the knight. And the reason is that now, after rook e8, knight g3, when he played a6, White is not forced to trade the bishop for the knight anymore, so he can go back, and that's exactly what Wei Yi did. Now, okay, the position is still alright for Black, but he doesn't have the bishop pair. c4, d5, as I was mentioning to you, we have the reversed hedgehog. Knight c3, bishop e6. So far, Black is just following their development, same does white. Rook c1, knight d to b4. Now I'm going towards d3 because the way the moves went, and now d3 square is weak, so we are trying to bring the knight there, but of course that won't happen because white can just play d3. But this move is also good because sometimes, in case white has the possibility of playing d4, basically with knight here, we are opening up the queen as well, so d4 won't be possible because we control the square. d3, queen d7, a3, knight goes back. That's fine. We attracted white to play a3, and although, yes, it is similar to the hedgehog, actually the weaknesses in the hedgehog are these two pawns. So, black is happy that those pawns are weak so that we try to find some ways to attack them. Well, already the bishop is on the diagonal. Knight a5 can come at some point. And, the more I attract you to push the pawns, the more weaknesses you make around. So, knight c2 e4. And here I think Svidler made a mistake. He played a5. Now, there's a threat for white with knight to e4. He wants to play knight g5 and win this bishop. He also wants to play knight c5, but in my opinion, this is least important because, let's see, if we are going to play the move that I would suggest to play in this position, f6, to stop knight g5, now, for example, if knight c5 would be played, now I capture with the bishop, this one. And I want to give away the black color bishop because, look, I have all of my pawns on black square, so I want to keep my white color bishop. I'm okay to give this one, which wasn't doing much in f8. But what happened in the game, he played a5, which is a typical move, yes, in these positions, but first f6. Then, of course, you can have that idea with a5, a4, create some weakness in b3, force white to play b4, and, But here, what happened is after knight g5, white just wins this bishop, and it simply has a better position now with the bishop pair. So bishop g4, queen there, queen c2. So now it looks like a Sicilian, and quite a good Sicilian, I would say, for white. Reverse Sicilian, of course. Knight d5, rook f d1, rook d8. Okay, this seem natural moves to improve the position of the pieces. We want to keep this rook in a8 to help the push of a4 eventually, or just stop any kind of b4 and have the rook on the a file to get active. g6, knight e4, queen e6, and here again I did not like Wei Yi's move this time. I didn't like knight c5. Well, the reason I didn't like it that much is because I think white should not allow black to give away this bishop for the knight. Just wait for a second. Black just played g6. I mean, maybe he's gonna play bishop g7, and then he can play knight c5, where he cannot capture in c5. Or if he doesn't play bishop g7, then okay, maybe f6 will be some weakened square. g6 is just, in my opinion, just weakened a little bit the position. So h4 idea could come to mind here. h4 with idea h5. Just hang on the queen side for the moment. Don't hurry. Wait, maybe black is gonna play f5, weaken his position more, and then you can play knight g5. For example, if rook a6, which is actually the move that was played in the game, now we have knight g5. Queen e7, okay, now we bring the queen. We can come towards g4, for example. Maybe I can play d4 as well, because this is the idea of white. Eventually they want to break through the center, as I mentioned to you earlier. So I think this position would have been great for Wei Yi to try to play for a win. He played knight c5, so he's slowly giving up his advantage, in my opinion. Okay, rook a6, the idea to come towards b6. Now rook b6, g3, a move that, okay, maybe you want to have some air and maybe put the bishop in g2, but it's definitely not a move that's necessary here. You have to try to have a clear plan, because, okay, we have to think, what is black's threat actually in this position? Well, black just wants to move this knight away and trade the queens and then put pressure on b3, because that's why he brought his rook to b6. So we have to be ready when black is gonna move the knight. you know, we want to be ready to be able to defend this pawn. So I think rook d2 was kind of necessary here, and with the idea that now after trades I have bishop d1. So my bishop is defending the pawn. This rook can come towards c4, then I can play g3 f4 if I want to. The king has to come towards the center, and okay, I have the bishop pair, you have the knights, you have double pawns. This should be really, really nice and enjoyable for white to play. Definitely lots of advantage here. But after g3, knight e7, now, okay, queen trade again, you know, not the best. I analyzed a little bit with Komodo here. It seems that b4 is possible because after the trades, queen takes, bishop a3, rook b3. Now we take in e7, knight takes, rook takes e7. White activates his rook. He did give away the bishop pair, but eventually this line would lead to some rook endgame, trades everything, and in this rook endgame, white has nothing to fear. It's quite good for it. But okay, it's a really long line, and in a rapid you don't really have time to calculate all of this. So queen trades and b4, but now it's a little bit different than the game because okay, I didn't take the pawn, and you didn't have that idea to come with the bishop, and now rook d7, d4 is forced. Okay, so now basically white just lost a pawn. But even like so, with a pawn down, black doesn't have an advantage because white's pieces, as you can see, are quite active. The rooks are active, the bishops are active, and you know, black cannot really start pushing his passed pawns because, let's see, well, first bishop here stopping any b5, rook a5 to try to push. Now e4, this knight has to go away. Now this trade happened, bishop e3, king f7, and here look, this rook is well placed because the knight cannot move. This pawn is hanging. This pawn cannot move because the knight is hanging, so the rook is well placed. Now what do we need to do? Well, try to improve the position of our king, because the bishops are also quite controlling the squares of the knight. So f3 I'm suggesting here. Just then try to bring the king and you know, just keep black from pushing the pawns. Rook b1 was played by Wei Yi, which actually now black starts getting some advantage here. f4, b6. Now I can actually push the pawn and push my actually two free pass pawns, link pawns, everything. So rook d1, king comes towards the center. Now f5 also wasn't the best idea. You are trying to trade pawns, but with f5, you see, Wei Yi just got crazy in a way here. He's just giving squares away. If you want, you just maintain your chain of pawns this way, if you want to, you know, and just put your bishop on the diagonal and keep the position. f5 is just a mistake. Now takes, knight f7, knight d5. He doesn't worry about this trade. I take back. What I'm interested in is to keep these two pawns linked. c6. He doesn't, as you can see, he doesn't hurry to push c5. He wants to make sure he can continue pushing them, so it's the best idea to keep them on the same file until you can start pushing them. Okay, now the king comes. Of course, this trade happened, and now it's very nice the way Svidler just started just improving the position and winning here. Knight g5. Okay, rook a8. The rook was not well placed here anymore. It's just doing nothing. So we're just improving the position of the knight. Now the other knight comes, and now with these two knights, the king can start marching to the improvement of the position. Okay, you give me some checks, but my king just keeps approaching. Now I have c5. Good move. One more check. Okay, go back. You know, I just came close to your rook, and now I start, you know, pushing the pawns with tempo. He's kind of forced to give away the bishop, and now all we have to do is cut the king, and the king is coming. Knight here, trade, and c3. After this, white resigned. There's no way for white to hang on in this position anymore because I'm just pushing the pawn. There are mate ideas as well. So this is how Svidler went through the next round.